in the community. And then we also talk about the successes of the Business Council and the things that we've done in the past year, as well as the things that we are working on moving forward. But yes, it is a way for businesses that are really looking to scale and grow their business, looking for whether it's potential customers. Of course, there are some resource providers that attend. We don't, we're not real heavy on resource tables and stuff like that. That isn't what this is. It's really a time to come out and network, learn what's going on as far as economic justice and inclusion for your business when it comes to you doing business in this country.
A couple of years ago, you had a couple of gentlemen from Georgia who did detergent.
Yes.
And I talk about that in terms of exposing us, as you just said, the different entrepreneurs, different products that's produced by Black people.
Yes, that is correct. So yes, so the gentleman from True laundry detergent, and True is sold, I know, at the Sherman Park grocery store.
That's where I get mine from.
Yep, and then I know that Kai over at the BP over on Atkinson, sometimes they have supply as well of detergent, and it's really, really important for us to expose the businesses that are on a grand scale, that can grow and that do have really quality products that people may not know about, and then be able to learn more about them and, bring them to. And we also brought True to the market. So they weren't here in Wisconsin. You can always order online, but they actually didn't have a place to sell their products. So we actually orchestrated that so that people could be able to go to Sherman Park grocery store as well as VP and purchase said items if they like to.
So who do you have sponsors for this event?
We do. We have a myriad of sponsors. Our presenting sponsor this year is Associated Bank. We also have some title sponsors such as so we have title sponsors. So Brewers Community Foundation is our title sponsor this year. We also have WEC Energy Group. We have a myriad of sponsors. Like, don't even get me to try to name all of them. I have to pull up my spreadsheet and go all in, and it's all bad. This computer is looking a little bad right
now. So where will this be? And how can people get tickets?
So they can actually, if you would like to secure a ticket, you can go to www.tbcmkeevents, so EVENTS.com, to basically learn about the event and register for a ticket. And it is a paid event, so it is not a free, open to the public type of event, because we need to cover our expenses for said event. But, people are more than welcome to attend if they would like to come. And it will be held at the Italian Community Center.
All right. Again, that is the Business Council Luncheon. That's next Thursday, the 22nd.
That is correct.
At the Italian Community Center. Again, if people want to get tickets or get more information, they can go to.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You can just go again, tbcmkeevents.com, and you can just go on there, click individual registration, and then go ahead and register. But like I said, and we've been able to keep our prices low. I don't think that people understand the expense it takes to do events. So, if anybody calls me, we do not have any scholarships or free seats available, because it's just, we have to be able to cover the cost and to be able to offer an excellent event, and give the businesses the exposure. So I just want to say that as well. I know that I've been getting some calls about that, but I just want to put it out the street. So on the radio streets, it's true. So no, we do not have any free or sponsored tickets, unfortunately.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you. Again, that's the Business Council Luncheon. That's going to be held next Thursday, August 22nd at the Italian Community Center. You can go to TBC MKE event
with an S event.com.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on. Hey, Milwaukee, y'all have a gentle day, and we look forward to seeing some of you all next week Thursday and working with you all in the future. And special shout out, let me just say this to WNOV, which is also one of our title sponsors. So thank you all very, very much for what you all are doing and what you've done to support our work. Y'all have always read with us, and we just are very, very grateful for that. So special shout out to WNOV as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Margaret.
Okay. Thank you all. Have a good one.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye. Also, as on Michelle's program, the young man came up from Atkinson Triangle. He said that tomorrow there will be food pantry tomorrow, Wednesday at Atkinson Triangle. And he said that they're still serving lunch there at Atkinson Triangle. I think he said from like 11 to 11:30 to 1. And so just wanted to let you know that the work continues. And a lot of the good work that Keon was a part of continues. Again, the food pantry will be tomorrow at its normal time there at the Atkinson Triangle or Atkinson Park. So they just wanted to let you know that the work continues. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. Those who have been listening to Michelle's program know that we lost a giant, Keon Jackson Malone, and so we're getting through it. Somebody asked me what I thought and how I was feeling, and I was real with him. I was graphic with him, and I'm just going to say it, just be transparent. I said I'm effed up. I'm sorry, and I didn't use F, because that's just how deeply I'm hurting. And if you've ever been in that situation where you've had those feelings, you know what I'm talking about. You know, you just we always ask the question why. I've had to go and eulogize folks and to lead homegoing services, and I said the one question that without fail will happen is why, right? Why? And we get frustrated because we always don't get clear answers to the why. And so I'm feeling why, but then I clearly understand that is life, and that, you know, we get through it and we work through it. But yeah, there is the 6 years, and my anniversary here at WNOV will be next Tuesday. August 20th, and it'll be 6 years here. And I can tell you, in the 6 years that I've been here and the relationships, and you hear folks talking about our relationships, and it really is, we really are family. I mean, we fall out, we fight, we support each other. One time, Keon and I had we had a real, it was going back and forth. We were going back and forth, man. I mean, it was just like, as Michelle said, he wasn't quitting. He just kept coming. I kept going back, kept coming. And he said something to the effect of, you know, I don't know why you saying that. And I said, because it's my program. And shut him down. I mean, he got so hurt. He just, you could tell, I'm a Cancer. I know we go into our shells, right? And so he was so, oh man, I knew I hurt his feelings. And so I called him and I said, Keith, man, why don't you meet me? Let's get together. There's something I need to talk to you about. So there was a restaurant, I think guys sold it, and I think it's Schroeder's, where he loved getting burgers over on Locust. And so we went over to the restaurant, and so he running around trying to get me food. And I'm like, dude, I'm not hungry. I just ate. No, you gotta get one of these burgers. These are the best burgers ever. Da, da, da. Then the owner came over. They pushing burgers. Like, no, man. So we sat and we talked, and he's looking at me, trying to figure out what am I going to say to him. And I looked at him and I said, Keon, man, if I offended you, I didn't really mean to offend you. And I'm sorry. But if anybody ever asks if this conversation ever happened, I'm going to deny it. So, and we would always say that when we're talking privately, you know, because there was a genuine affection. Keon, we'd always refer to each other as the brothers neither one of us wanted. And then when I thought about it, Keon didn't have brothers. And so I think that was why his relationship with Eric, where Eric was like the older brother and, like the older brother. So it was relationships and how we had those relationships and how we built those relationships. We had heartfelt conversations. We messed with each other. But there was no question that we loved each other. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Not bad.
Okay. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I want to speak on Keon for a minute.
All right. I can't hear him.
Say again?
No, we can't hear you, brother.
Go right ahead, Dr. Ward.
Okay.
Go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead and talk.
Okay. I met Keon long before he was on the NOV. I met him on 13th and Atkinson. He had a cookout for the community. I had known him, I heard of him, but I looked him up and I found him. He was such a personable person, and he was for others very clearly. And I just want to say that I really, really miss him. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hello.
We can hear you. Go right
ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
This is I don't have to say who I am, but anyway, I really remember Keon. I met him at a cookout that he had on 13th and Atkinson long before he got to NOV, and you could tell real clearly he was for the community, and he loved everybody. And he was real, and he wasn't having none if you came wrong. And that's about all I have to say. But anyway, if people need anything, see me. And y'all have a good one.
All right. Appreciate you. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Not too good.
All right.
Keon, this is, y'all know who I am. Keon was educated brother that in this one life made his stamp as education, political, Asbury, and hood combined twist braid. Be able to articulate to supposed professional folks or distant folks mind that maybe not have a connection with the hood. He did his due diligence providing his base and platform. I don't think anyone as much as Keon at a radio station at this point in time, especially in Milwaukee, can dig just as much. We do have some still here, and we appreciate them. But to lose one of our producers, jockeys, community leader, advocate of structure, to lose his raspiness voice, but bagging of strength of truth with evidence of history providence. That's what he brought to the table. Most things he spoke about, you can view it or do research to do the contrast. I miss him. I lost to now 4 people now back to back. This is so crazy. It ain't even been 2 months. My prayers is with everyone and listeners. signing out. Short dog.
All right, man. Appreciate you. You want me to get Dino, or you?
Yeah, if you want.
Hey, Dino. We're gonna do this real quick before the break. Man, last time I saw you was at Juneteenth Day.
Yeah, you was sweating.
Yeah, you was too. It was hot that day.
Yes, you were. I wasn't sweating. You was.
Oh, see, we just can't get along. What's happening, man?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I got to tell you, it was Keon that introduced me to my nemesis, Dino. Remember, we down Juneteenth on Christine Lane.
Well, I knew about it earlier because I said I was coming up here to see you, and that man stepped between me and said, "Man, no."
Yeah,
and I was on a different tip at that time, different frequency, and he knew me, so he said, "I said, are you saving him?" He's like, "No, I'm saving you." And I had to think about it, and I had to come back and say, "Man, you right." But,
I ain't worth going to jail for,
man. Ain't nobody worth that. Right. Ain't neither. And that's what he made me think.
Right.
But that brother always made you, he always rolled it out, and whatever came out, he can deal with it, and told you. And I really love that brother. I respected him. And I had to come up here to this show. And I apologize. And I know people are mad at me because I left unannounced and just got on the bus and brought my butt up here to say thank you for y'all. Thank you for him. And I met somebody special. I've met several in my life, and I'm glad he was one of them. And that brother always walked to you with a mirror because he wanted you to see what he saw when he talking to you.
Yeah.
And I love his point of view, and we was always on that same frequency. And no matter where I went, I'm gonna miss him falling asleep on my couch. 45 minutes, hop up. Oh, I gotta go. Hey man, nice to see you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? But that was Keon. I know it. And my son will come in. Who is that? Man, that's a brother from Atkinson. Don't worry. Oh, okay. Man, I miss you, bro. I respect you. Miss Keon Jackson Malone. Mama, I bought you some change. Do what you need to do with it for him, for us. I respect WNOV, Milwaukee, Black Milwaukee. Man. Much respect.
Even in his passing, he's still bringing us together.
I made Michelle Bryan. I left a note for her and someone. Make sure his mama get that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Man, from the alleys, man, to the boulevards. I love you, bro.
Appreciate you,
for
man.
coming, man.
That's Dino. And what Michelle says is a connector. We had talked on radio, but he put us together in person. You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1, find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2, have a plan to get there. Step 3, make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all three with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice. We're inside Be Healthy with Miss Julia Means and Miss Brenda Buchanan. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not going to, how you doing?
You know, I thought I was doing fine.
You got here, right?
Yeah, and my daughter called me not soon after you had called me, and she goes, "What's wrong with you?" I'm going, "What?" She said, "You ain't sounding right. Something's going on." And I told her, and she said, "Oh, I know he meant a lot to you." I said, "He did. He did." But I didn't realize that emotionally I had, been so affected that my daughter could tell in my voice just from answering the telephone and talking to her. I was trying to get a hold of my aunt and different people that I know that listen to the show. But I couldn't focus, You just can't focus. So, and the guy that was outside in the waiting room,
Dino,
with us, and I said, I don't want to be crying on the show.
I know, right? Well, especially now we're on Facebook Live too.
You got to put your makeup all on.
Ugly.
Looking like Tammy Faye Baker.
Right. Exactly. They'd be like, when did she get on the show?
Is she still in jail?
Oh, no.
She died.
Did she?
No.
Yeah, she died.
Jim died too?
No, Jim's still alive. Jim was sick. He's just got back on. I just saw him the other day.
He's on television again?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing.
Same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Brenda?
Yeah, when you called me yesterday, and I am so grateful you called me before I saw it on social media, because that would have been hard. But I'm not going to say anymore because I'm starting to cry.
That's okay.
But I will miss him. I respected him. He was smart. He was funny. He liked to start stuff, which made him even funnier. But I will definitely.
That he did.
He what?
That he did.
He
Love to
did.
start stuff.
He did. But
Sit back and watch you react.
That's right. But that's part of what made him him. And I definitely will miss him very much.
Yeah, and because both of you were his private practice nurses.
Yes. And he didn't mind that we were on him all the time. He was okay with that. And he let me give him his flu shot.
He did. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
he would
right.
let me give him his flu shot.
Yeah, it was the people say, and now they can see us, but when they would listen, they said, man, y'all have so much fun, right? Y'all have so much fun. And he was part of that.
Yeah.
In terms of let's just keep going. As a matter of fact, your theme music he found. And we were talking, because we go back and forth about, I found that song. That's my song. But there's another song I'm going to play at the end of this program that I don't know why. I don't know if it was the anniversary or what it was. And it's Maceo Woods. It's Been a Mighty Good Day. And he fell in love with that song. He wanted to use it on the Man Show, to close the Man Show. And so we would always do that. He found 22 versions of my theme music, the theme music of Community Voice, Valdez in the Country. And so you hear it, we go and we intersect all those different things. And And one of the interesting things was, and as I was sitting here thinking about it, we didn't talk about it with Michelle and I, was he took the role. Now we're going to say, they say board operators. I don't refer to them as board operators. They're producers in my mind. He took that real seriously. So he wanted the program to be great. And so that's the things he would do. Music he might find. I was sitting there, Debo, was on Michelle's program. I kept saying, you playing all this sad music, you ain't gonna play any Parliament? Because, he would, and I, this sounds so trite because you hear this at home going, Mama wouldn't want you to be sad. It sounds trite. But I kept sitting there thinking, because every time I wanted to cry, I would come up with something funny or stupid that we did, that
Mhm.
we experienced, you know, and so then it was just like in Africa, they say as long as your loved one's name is on your lips, they live forever.
Yeah.
How you speak their name after they make transition, right?
Mhm.
And that's what you're going to. I hope we embrace that Africanness, and we will continue to say his name.
Mhm.
Because
let me interject this. We spoke to it this morning. I don't know if you heard it, Keith, or if we mentioned it while you were in studio. Friday will be an actual full production with video and, you know, songs, other clips of him and so forth and so on. So it'll be a full production. Having just gotten the news on yesterday, we pulled together what we could today to just kind of get the word out, if you will. But Friday you'll see a full piece with some Parliament and some James Brown and, you know, stuff like that.
I'm sorry, Mr. James Brown.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
And there's another. I know DJ is listening. You know, he DJ would go like, oh, Jim Brown, and we go, excuse me, Mr. Jim Brown. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Jim Brown is the only person that we give passes to, Mr. Jim Brown. So we'd always have that level of respect when he come in. And I just can't. I was thinking the other thing he would always say about, as people know, my attention span is, I don't know how you would just, squirrel. And so I would see something like Batesville Cassie, and he would go, "Ooh, Bubbles." Every time I look out the window, he go, and I say something like, "Oh, look at her." He go, "Ooh, Bubbles, get back to the program." You know, it is. So let's do this. I know we were going to talk about something else. Let's, if we can, let's just talk about grieving.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, how we process it, and kind of, we can get through that. Maybe we can have callers call in as we do that. If we could kind of do that, but just, we kind of talk about that process. I'm gonna get this caller. Yeah. Is it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hi, I'm glad you're taking my call because y'all just got to talking about some of the things that Keon said, and I have one. I mean, I never met Keon, I never saw him, but I always liked the one when Jim Frazier come on from Northwest Funeral Home. He would Jim Frazier was only one we would say, "All is well, Keon. All is well, Keon." And Keon would say, "I don't know why he's saying all is well, Keon," but he accepts it. So I hope y'all find that and play that from Jim Frazier when you play it on Friday, because that was one of his favorite. That was one of my favorites that I love to hear him say. I love to hear Jim Frazier say that to Keon. All is well, Keon. And he didn't know. I don't know what that means either, but it meant something to him and it meant something to Keon.
He had gotten, because I'm thinking, I don't know who did the original when we would do his intro, but Keon ended up recording that, right? Yeah, and so then it would be. So I watched others come in but Keon, because at that point him and Mr. Frazier had that relationship, and so he said, "All is well, Keon. All is well." And then we just go. So when we talk about Mr. Frazier, we always say, "All is well. All is well." Yeah, it was, and then when it was something that he thought he was being prophetic about, he would say, "And Keith, what's the name of the book?" "I told you so." So it was, I'm still in disbelief.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. Time to take you live to Northwest Funeral Chapel for funeral announcements and a word of the good news from none other than Mr. J.C. Frazier. May I say God's graces to you today, Brother Frazier. And how do you feel this morning, sir?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I I was preaching a sermon, and it was about when Jesus had announced his ministry to the world. And he said that, I come to set the captives free, preach the good news. And I thought about that. I listened to it here. It was part of my fourth closing. It was part of my fourth closing.
How many
the good
closings
news.
does a preacher typically have?
Oh, man, it depends on the preacher. Noel Jones just says he makes it part of his message. He said, I'm on my third closing right now. I mean, it was just because, the thing about black preachers, I always start messages off with there's two lies that black preachers tell. I'm not going to be before you long,
And I'm
getting ready to close. And let me shout again, Pastor Harold Turner. He was at our men's day, and he did just what he said. He said, I ain't going to be before you long. And when it was time to take his seat, he took his seat. But and somebody else was very good at this. I just show you just how to do it was Bishop Cedric Daniels. When he said, let me show you what a Kojic 2 minutes look like. And he would get up and do a Kojic 2 minutes. It was like, oh man, that's impressive. So then I fell back on my Catholic education. I said, let me show you what a Catholic 2 minutes look like, which is actually 2 minutes.
Right. Might be one and a half.
What did the Kojic 2 minutes with Bishop Daniels look like?
Bishop Daniels, it'd be 3 at tops because, first of all, he was so gifted. He was a gifted orator. And when you're a gifted orator, you understand, one, how the crowd will react and respond to what you're doing. And he knew, just make your salient point and sit down.
Sit down.
And that's what he's very good, very focused at that. Part of being in the business is you have to observe others in the business and watch what they do, learn from what they do.
You can throw a song in there too.
Oh yeah, you can do that. The funny, there was a homegoing at his church, and so the woman that was being eulogized was not a member. Her daughter was. And so now you got to figure out how to bring in clergy. So I guess our old church, we knew something was up because they're on the program, it says words of comfort, 2 minutes. We knew something was up when her pastor came up with his preaching Bible, and he wasn't the eulogist. So that's already a clue right there. When he got the big Bible, it was just like, here we go. And so he got up, basically took a text, and kind of did a little sermonette. So right after him, and Bishop Daniels was very good. He got up, and that's the first time I ever heard him say, let me show you what a Kojic 2 minutes look like. Because this dude took a text. It was just like, dude, you're not the eulogist. I know you think you should be, but you're not. Like I said, when you see the preaching Bibles coming in, if they get the mic, get ready.
If they get that mic.
If they get that mic, get ready. It's on and it's cracking. So let's talk about, you want to get the caller?
Sure.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Going once.
Okay, why not?
Talk about
shock is the first.
Shock, denial, and we clearly are all in that stage.
Yeah. I was in my mother's hospital room, and Michelle called me, and she wasn't panicked, she wasn't emotional, and she said that they found Keon dead. And I remember just howling, and my sister and my mom was looking at me like, what's wrong? And I just said, Keon has passed. You know what? Wait a minute. Hold on. I talked to Keon last Thursday. And Keon got to talk about my mama. You know what? He did. It was this whole thing about back in the day, and I was like, dude, don't be talking about my mama, dude. What is?
I heard y'all talking about mamas on the.
Yeah, he talked. Oh, that was when he pulled up the mama jokes.
Yeah.
But so shock,
Mhm.
disbelief.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Next stage is usually anger,
Yeah.
and then bargaining. And we don't all grieve the same,
Mm-mm.
and we don't all grieve at once. So we might have disbelief. We might move on to another stage, and 2 weeks later, we might be right back at a different stage. It's not linear, but eventually we get there. But I guess the thing I want to say to everybody is, you have to allow yourself to grieve. Don't suppress it. Don't push it down, because it will come back up at some point. You have to allow yourself to feel those feelings.
Do you think that we've been taught to be strong?
Oh yeah.
Or what
especially
perceived as being strength?
definitely, and more so with men than even with women. It was, it's always been more acceptable for us to cry at the drop of a hat or in front of other people, but it's hasn't been for men. And so I think it's sometimes men have a harder time with it, because and for people, it's been a year, you should be over that. It doesn't work like that.
That's the worst thing I think
It
you
does
can say
not
to someone.
work like that.
Right.
Everybody's
My sister's daughter's been dead now for 20 years. She was 23 when she died. My sister will grieve for the rest of her life.
Mhm.
There will never be a day that she stops grieving.
Well, Black folks we are very expressive.
Oh, well, especially at the
as-
funeral, we all
Call it
it's a
emotive.
difference.
Very.
You go to one funeral, and a white funeral, and you go to a black funeral. Totally, I remember somebody being at a black funeral, and I said, "Don't this is normal. Just
Which is
we fall out like that."
It's interesting. I was asked to do a service for one of my coworkers,
Mhm.
and it says something about the history of racism and this. So it was a fascinating story. So she had a first marriage, and I think she's married to a white guy. This is a white woman, and she had her first marriage. She had 3 daughters,
Mhm.
and then she got divorced, met this black man, and I'm thinking, I know they had kids together too. The fascinating thing was this was back in the 50s and early 60s, right?
Mm.
And so her family, her mother and father, basically petitioned the court to get the 3 kids that was product of her and the white guy, because they didn't want them growing up
Mm-hmm.
in a black community.
Wow.
So at the funeral, you had on one side of the room the European part of the family, and then on the other side, and look, this is what it looked like, and on the other side of the
Mhm.
room, you had the people, the black folks, and how do you then? And so the grieving was
Totally different.
Mhm.
right, but they're in the same space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was I don't know. Now look, let me say this, because I'm just keeping 100. Some of this stuff we seeing is just performance. I
Mhm.
heard somebody, I ain't scared. It's performance.
Mhm.
Because I think the other thing is, what was the level of relationship you had? Because relationships can be complicated.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, we assume because we're brothers and sisters that, they just love each other.
No.
No.
And then that changes the whole grieving process.
Right.
I mean, because sometimes there's guilt, there's anger that you didn't work it out. I mean, there's all sorts of things, different feelings. So it can be challenging. But yeah, just can't assume that, they're happy about it. I remember it was a Richard Pryor, when his dad died. Remember, it was a stand-up comedy. His dad died while he was with this woman. And no, it wasn't his dad, his mom. And
His
it was
mom
cold.
right.
It was cold. And it was down there, and he's like, I can't say the words on air, but he's like, basically, get in the ground.
Let's go. We gotta go.
Get
We gotta go. It was,
Oh, that
man. I
was
mean, and maybe the idea of we're being fully human, and how that's actualized. Sometimes humanity, we can do things that are just so incredibly good and wonderful, and then we can do things that are so incredibly depraved or so incredibly negative. That is that yin and yang, like that balance that we have. This whole idea of who is my best friend died, and he had a gift. I mean, he just he just had a great gift of making people feel like you're wonderful. So I asked the question. I said, let me ask Bobby's favorite cousins, relatives to stand up. Everybody stood up in his family, right? Because he made everybody feel like they were the favorite.
special. Yeah.
And so, to be able to understand that we all have different levels of relationship. I think you hit on something really important, Brenda, when you talked about guilt. Because look, even with your parents, there could be some relationship difficulties, and you get through it. They get you through it. You hope that you're not in a situation where now you're feeling guilty, and so sometimes you don't know if it's the grief now or it's the grief because of guilt. And how do you process that? I know you were citing Elizabeth Kubler-Ross in terms of how we process bad news, and I kept thinking this morning about Job and what happens when you get the phone call you dreaded getting. And Job said that the day that I feared the most is now come upon me. And then when you read in the first chapter of Job regularly prayed for his children. That was part of what he did.
He did.
And in spite of that, his children died.
All of them.
All of them.
At one time.
At one time. Wiped out at a party. And so when people say, when you get that phone call, when I got that call from Michelle, I thought Michelle was calling me back to talk about Election Central. Of all the things she's calling me about, not Keon is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, it wasn't up in the top 300,000 of things that I thought she might have been calling me about. And then, but something that when she called me back again, I asked her. Now, what I mean by how you're doing, obviously, like I said earlier, I used the term. I didn't use the actual term when I was talking to someone, and I'm saying, dude, I am effed up about this. I know it sounds graphic, but there's no other way to describe it.
Well, he was 45, right?
Just had a birthday, turned 46. Just turned
46. Wow. That is young. That's young,
right? You certainly don't expect that.
But as he would always quote, people who have died today had never died before. And that's the thing about this actuary in life. We keep thinking there's old people dying. People are dying at every age.
Do you recall the last medical episode he had? He spoke to the fact that he died.
He did.
Yes, he did.
And he don't
Very
know why
vividly.
the Lord let him come back, but he died.
Yeah.
In his words.
Yeah, I think you don't. It's amazing to me. And again, I'm going to come across as judgmental. The last near-death experience I had, I was 14 years old. So I've been talking about near-death. Could have been really that close to death. But I would think, and especially if you are a religious practicing Christian, that the wake-up call might be, wow, I got through this. Maybe I should begin to examine myself and then change. there is the Psalms that says, I think the 90th, that Lord help us
Mhm.
to number our days, that we might apply wisdom to our hearts, right?
Mhm.
And what it's saying is you need to be mindful, because now, look, if you're out of here tomorrow, I guess it don't make a difference, but you might not be out of here tomorrow. And then I always think when you have, and look, God doesn't try to do anything, 'cause that's just poor sentence construction. God does not have to try.
No.
God does. And that's so God trying to tell you something? No, God is telling you something.
Mhm.
Now, whether or not you're receptive to what God is telling you, now that's up for debate, but he ain't trying, because we have this thing called free will and choice.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so, you can make a decision on, how I'm gonna do this, how I'm gonna handle that.
Mhm.
But no, I would just think that it would be like, God, you delivered me,
Once.
right. And man, I'm getting all biblical in this piece. There's the story of the man who was by the pool for 38 years. And finally, Jesus comes to him and he asked the man, well, do you want to be healed?
Mhm.
And then the man started telling him all the reasons, right? And it was just like, is it pork in it?
Right.
Do you
Yes or no?
do you want to be healed? And so, yes. But then we stopped reading there. Everybody's shouting, oh, Jesus healed him. Yeah, da, 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 da. Keep reading.
Mhm.
Because
That's
when
right.
you find out later, Jesus encounters the man later in the temple. And Jesus comes up to him and said, you know what? If you continue this behavior,
Mhm.
you're going to be in worse condition than you was that he required you to be in the pool in the first
Mhm.
place. And so this idea that once we get, you get through an episode and there's some health things that you might want to look at, and you have this opportunity, and maybe because it's so hard as adults to unlearn, maybe that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's hard. It takes a lot of work to change, to make changes. Even if you want to make changes, it's still hard work. And of course, we always encounter people that really don't want to make a change. Maybe they're apathetic, they're depressed, it's too much work. People have all kinds of reasons, but if you have to work at it, you can't just make a change today and think it's going to be change. You got to make that choice every single day.
Is that like when we're at the beginning of the year, people are making their
Oh, you can't even get in the gym.
Oh man,
You can't get in the gym.
Was it Peloton? Whoever
Oh,
does
yeah.
the gym, and they were saying, "Don't even come in January. We don't want to see you in January. Come if you're serious, we'll see you in February."
That's right. Yeah.
Right? I mean, but I think people mean well.
They do, but again, it's hard work. So that means, you want to change. Maybe you want to lose weight. You want to make exercise, and you put it in. But you got to rework that schedule all the time. You have to constantly plan it. Like when I'm going to do classes I go for the week and register for all my classes. I don't just say, oh, today I think I'm just going to pop in. I register for all my classes for the week. I plan it out. When can I fit that in? And that's how I do it.
Think it make a difference when you're paying for it?
I don't know, because there's a lot of people that pay for it and they still don't go. That's why gyms make money. They get a lot of people that pay and they don't show up. Again, they may show up motivated that January, 2nd, January 1st, and then by the 15th, 16th, by February, it's over.
You had, when you were at Marquette, you had Saga Foods.
Mm-hmm.
We also had Saga Foods at Mount St. Mary's. And actually, Saga wasn't too bad. Marriott was awful. There was another school down the way. They had Marriott, but we had Saga. And the guy, we had a situation at the school. Now, again, just to kind of give you a sense of where Mount St. Mary's is. Okay. Mount St. Mary's is literally, you hear mountains, it's kind of up in the mountains, not isolated, but it's kind of out in the rural area. And we had, it seemed like we were getting ready to have a Noah kind of weather experience. It rained every day. I mean, it rained every day. And so the bridges got washed out. Mount St. Mary's was a school where most people live in that area. They go home on the weekends. They couldn't go home on the weekends, right? Because the roads were washed out. That means that they're eating. And then I found out, Saga said, this is how we make money. We anticipate the number of meals that you're going to buy. And then it's called missed meals.
Yeah.
And they make the money off of missed meals. Okay. And so they know that, look, on the weekends, only 50% of the student body is going to be here. So we prepare for that, even though we charge
for those
school
3 meals a day or
for the
whatever
3
it
meals
was.
a day and for whatever number of students going to be taking advantage of it. So we hope on the weekends, Friday night, you go home. That's where we make our money. They didn't go home. And so that's what I'd never, and the guy was explaining this to me, and I knew my friends at Marquette, they had SOG. I said, yeah, that's how it works. I guess all of them. It's based on, we're going to max it out, and we realize that we rarely, if ever, will hit the max until you have a flood.
Yeah. And, and most parents, they're sending their kids away to college. They're going to go for those 3 meals a day. Because some will do how many meals a week? Some of the programs are like 12 meals a week or something like that. And parents are usually going to opt for the biggest one because they want to make sure little Johnny has food to eat and isn't hungry, And so, you just, and very few people eat the 3 meals a day.
I never ate breakfast. I never ate breakfast. So, and again, they could figure out now lunch. I think dinner was probably across the week the most attended meal. That's when the cafeteria would be packed at lunchtime or bad weather.
Yeah.
If you're bad weather and people just kind of inside. But anyway, 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. Call ICU. We'll grab you right after the break. We'll be right back. Let's see if I can get you.
I see him jump into character right there.
We're well trained.
Right.
Yes.
We
know how to do
Let
it.
me do Superman.
Wow. Wow.
Nobody knew the dudes. You take the glasses off and they don't recognize you as Clark Kent.
Right.
Who is that man sitting next to us,
Who's
Julia?
that, man?
Who
Put the
is
glasses back
Where's
on. There
Pete?
you go. There, Clark is back. Here's Clark Kent. Oh my God! I never understood that.
I know.
Like
It's
the
like,
glasses.
come on, you can't tell that ain't Superman.
At least Batman had a cowl.
Right,
You know, it was like partially covered. I mean, like, dude just took his glasses off, and you are 414-444-5250. Inside Be Healthy, Be You. But obviously, we're talking about the GTO, the gifted and talented one, Mr. Keon Jackson Malone. We're also talking about grieving and how we express that and how we express our grief and working through it. One of the things about grieving, though, is it does have an impact on your physiology, right?
Absolutely. Well, stress hormones, we've talked about that, the damage that they can do. But there's also that called broken heart syndrome. It changes
real.
the rhythm of your heart. It's real. And it's usually after a traumatic event. It could be death. It could be divorce. It could be something that really increases a person's stress, and their heart rhythm changes, and not in a good way. And for some people, I mean, they may need serious treatment. Most people with broken heart syndrome, as they grieve within 6 months to a year, even though they've needed medicine to help them along the way or treatment, they get better. But it's a real disease. I'm 100% sure that's what my mother died of, because when my niece died the next day, her heart went crazy. My son had to take her to the hospital. She was hospitalized in ICU for a couple weeks, very low heart rate, never made it to my niece's funeral, which was probably a good thing, because she probably would have had a heart attack and just lost it at the there. But it's real.
So getting a divorce wouldn't necessarily be a stress reliever.
No, well, I don't know. Maybe
Depending on the situation.
If you wanted to
Want somebody in that equation, yeah. Somebody
Right.
to lead.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah,
not
you
a
might
stress
not be
reliever,
the
like
one.
he gone.
That's right. You might be like, ooh, nah, I
What was that
gotta
Michael
stay.
Jackson song? She's out of my life. I don't know whether to live or die.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, like sometimes that's a big stress reliever. That because that was the stress causer.
Yeah. But even going through the divorce process, for some people, even people that I know wanted the divorce, said it was really stressful.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, dividing assets, worrying about children, finances, you know, that can be really, really stressful.
Which I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say there are some things that are worse than death. As a nurse, we have seen it, and
Things worse than death.
Yeah.
When you have people who survive and they are mentally unresponsive, and they're just breathing automatically and just laying there, and you have to totally feed them through a tube, and you have to turn them and reposition them and take care of them. And some people live a long time like that in that state.
Right.
And,
especially
you know,
your brainstem is
Sure, 'cause
healthy.
Hubby said at that age, and if you're a senior citizen, you ain't got but about 6 months
I
left.
know,
So ain't no
right?
need of
I'm like, come on,
taking
dude.
your vote
Clearly,
anyway,
you
right?
ain't never been in a nursing home.
some people live a long
They
He
do.
said he never ran a nursing home,
Right.
but he
Yeah.
owned one.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So maybe that he only life expectancy in his joint was 6 months.
Yeah, maybe he only took those ones.
Right.
6 months. Or
good.
maybe, okay, we can't go there.
Yeah.
Good. We need to
Or
get
I know where you're going. Conspiracy theory.
with a Q.
But yeah, especially if that brainstem is healthy, I mean, that controls a lot of, your heart rate. I mean, your breathing, all of that. And sometimes people wait too late when a person's, they're not ready to let them go. And then later on, they remove the ventilator and they continue to breathe on their own. But like Julia said, they're a vegetable. They can't eat on their own. They're probably getting a feeding tube. They have to be turned. They have a catheter, and they can't interact.
You know, one of the things that in this process for me, what I was mindful of my own mortality. You know, I think that's a part of it too. Like,
Yes.
you know, I'm gonna die, and you just don't know. And then you were asking me about predestination, right? And that has been a theological debate. You know, I mean, the question people ask, if we have free will, how are we then predestined? I am not. I'm not from the predestined school of thought. I think now we try to, again. Remember, I don't know if you heard me say this. Why? Okay. Why did my mama get sick? Why did my mama die? You know, and especially if it's one of those things where it was, all death is tragic for the people that love someone, but it was something where it was just so egregious, and you go, why? You know, 2,000 people lost their lives on 9/11, and the question you have to ask is why? Not so much we understood what the motivation was for bringing the buildings down, but we're trying to figure out, well, why was it my loved one? That plane crash in Brazil, there were 10 people who couldn't get on the plane.
Yes, that one. Do you see that one black man? He was crying,
Right.
like,
And then he would say, we're arguing with him. No, I need to get on this plane. I need to get on this plane. And then afterwards, he said, this guy saved our lives.
yeah,
So then you have this thing called survivor remorse.
yeah, survivor's guilt.
Yeah, and you see that especially in I know there are veterans who've been in combat zones. You try to figure out, why did Brenda die and I live? You know, and it's like it's hard, and that's probably even why when we part of this thing about religion, you know, we talk about heaven and hell. When you actually look at the terms heaven and hell, they don't really appear in the Bible, right? Because Judaism didn't have a concept of heaven and hell. They had a concept of life and death, resurrection or death. And then during the Dark Ages, Dante then came up because people were dying. What is the hope? It was the when Paul talked about this. What happens once I die, right? And they were trying to give people, so if you live a good life, you get to go to paradise. If you live a bad life, then you go to hell. And hell had 9 cells, and depending on, so trying to get people to kind of understand something, because death is the unknown. It is the great unknown.
Most definitely.
Nobody's come back and said, this is, now people said, oh, he died and he saw his grandmother. We talk about when you're clinically dead. We talk about when they put some dirt on you.
Yep.
Right? Nobody's come back to tell us.
No, not from that. That's it's done.
It's final. And I mean, I'm talking about the finiteness of it, and that's what we talk about, life finite. This level of existence changed when we die.
Yeah.
Now we go and become part of the earth. You know, we talked about speaking our names, and in that way we live. But hey, everybody died. Do you know any exception?
No.
Even Jesus died. Now, as a Baptist, he got up, but he died. Someone a few years ago thought they might have found the bones or some bone fragments from what would have been Jesus. And I'll never forget, I think it was Tavis Smiley. And he said, ooh, there's some Baptist preachers. No, it was Michael Eric Dyson. There's some Baptist preachers going to have a problem Sunday. Because, you know, just by every message, he got up.
He got up, and he didn't die. He gave up. He gave up the ghost. They didn't take his life.
They embalmed him. He was dead.
He was dead, but he willingly.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of been kind of one of those things that I understand that he understood that the purpose of what I had to do. It's like Dr. King. You know, Dr. King, when he was at Memphis and at the historic Mason Temple Church of God in Christ.
Yes.
you know, and he stood up and he said longevity has its place.
Yep.
Like everyone, I'd like to live a long life.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was talking about the threats. He said, but it doesn't really matter with me now. There was a certain level of peace that if death is a part of what we do here,
Yeah.
I'm willing to do that. But yeah, I mean, it really is. And then for us trying to understand it's amazing what we spend our time trying to understand. There was a young man.
We want to understand everything.
Yeah. Oh, some things that are, hey, young man, that's not really that important that you're never going to understand. You will never know how high up is.
You're right.
You keep on spending all your precious brain cells on trying to figure out how high up is, and you figure out, maybe we won't figure it out.
Or
But
how deep the ocean. We're probably never going to know that in our lifetime.
yeah, I mean, it's okay, but
Right.
there's some other things I should be focusing on if
Yeah.
I'm not an oceanographer. I was an oceanographer.
Yeah.
Then why am I spending time trying to figure out how deep the ocean is?
You know, I had to look it up because I didn't want to say the wrong word.
Okay.
Hezekiah, he prayed to the Lord for more time and got it. Preacher.
What's that prayer look like?
What chapter? Where is
Give me that prayer.
Everybody's
he
looking.
turned his face towards the wall and asked the Lord for more years.
Now, do we have
He
any?
had 15. He had 15 years added to.
Oh, he got whole 15.
Oh, 15.
But he did die.
He died.
He died. Like with Julie and I was having this discussion about how long you grieve a spouse.
Ooh. Some people are like skipping home.
Oh, you did that Rich Pryor joke, right? You know, it's cold out here. It's over. You know, man, we need to go. We need to go. I was at I won't call his name because people know who he is, but his wife died. And they had a private committal. So we're out at the Graceland, and we do the committal. And now people fellowshipping. You know, we talking, we laughing, telling stories, the whole thing. Her husband looked at his, his watch and said, "We paying for these limos."
Time to go.
Time to go. This is time. I mean, I think, and again, as Brenda was saying, well, we don't know what is an acceptable period of mourning, right? I mean, what they used to do back in the day? Women would have to wear black. Dudes didn't, but she'd have to wear black. And for the rest of her life, she's in black, right? Because she is a widow. Why?
Well, that's because she didn't have an income, and widows back then were considered destitute. If their children didn't see about them. The Jewish religion, the brother would take in their brothers,
and that's how we know marriage is not always necessarily based on love. That is kind of a
responsibility.
Well, it's also a modern notion. There were instances, though. There you go, y'all. All y'all was talking to me Sunday about Bible study. Here we go. I was doing it, and people go up and they, oh man, y'all be talking. But the story of I think Jacob, the woman he loved, he couldn't marry because she was younger than the woman he really
could have told her that. He could have told Jacob that before he worked all them years thinking he gonna get the woman.
Well, they had some other things going on there too, because women were considered like chattel.
They were
right. Your ability to be able to bear children
is very important.
Very important, and so that it seemed like primary function. Have kids. You hear barefoot. Was it barefoot and pregnant? Right. That this whole idea, but that was kind of the position of women. And I think that sometimes today, when people are still trying to say that, this is what we should do, that pushes up against modern notions. It pushes up against female empowerment. There are many men who enjoy, you were talking about them criticizing Vice President Harris as being unqualified. Right. And then you gave me her resume. And I was thinking to myself, what makes her unqualified? She's not a white male.
Yes.
That's what makes her unqualified. Because, and I'm not going to be too political, but you cannot compare Donald Trump's resume with Kamala Harris. You
Right.
certainly could not compare his resume to Hillary Clinton, who was the most qualified person
Absolutely.
ever to run.
Mhm.
It's not about the quantitative stuff. It is the subjective thing on what we call leadership and what leadership looks like. And I remember people going like, well, I'll vote for him because I prefer strong and wrong. I don't. No, I mean that's dangerous.
That is very dangerous.
That's very dangerous. And so I think, when we look at, but it has a lot to do with the role of women, and I know a lot of people, the abortion issue is one of where they have some very strongly held religious beliefs, and I'm not going to do that. All I'm saying is the argument that you hear women make is I control my body. And that's up to me and my physician and my God, right? And though I might feel strongly that you should not do it, it's still not my body. We were talking to my mom about having surgery. And, she's apprehensive about having surgery. And we're going, oh, Mom, you got to do that. My mom go, yeah, well, when it's your body. But you know what I mean? It is
but
right.
Poking holes in you is a lot different than
cutting you open.
Yeah.
And we got. But it's still the
Thank
fear.
God
It's still fear because I had a colonoscopy, and I'm telling you, there was some fear. If I'm sitting there lying to you, thinking, no, they could do all kinds of things. They could perforate my colon. I could bleed out. There's a whole lot that you don't think about. What is a routine kind of day surgery kind of thing? Anesthesia can go wrong.
And even if it doesn't go wrong, for some people, especially older people, it just can be really hard on them.
Traumatic on their hearts. And that was one of the things we're looking at my mom, making sure, you're strong enough just so you can be what she was able to withstand it. But no, that when she said that, I had to back up going decision. Right. And we're sitting up here, making the medical arguments and she got that part of it. But then there's all that whole emotional part of it when I was dealing with sciatica. And the orthopedic guy said, well, we can do a couple things. We can give you medication and see if the medication will, ease it and you be able to do physical therapy. He said, or we can do surgery. I've seen, and maybe I'm sounding like those old people when they cut you open, that's when they can. But I've seen people have bad results from surgery for backs.
Anytime you're dealing with the spine, everything is so intricate in there. That would definitely be a last resort for me, to have spine surgery.
So I understand the fear. Don't, and we shouldn't minimize it because when it's us,
right?
Let me see a caller. No, hold on, wait a minute. What number is it there, Julia?
It doesn't say. It just says
9-6.
Hit number 6 to your left there. Hit number 6. Number 6 to your left. The other left. The other 6. Left. Yeah, that. Caller, welcome to the program.
You got it, girl.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning. Caller, are you there? There you go.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
We're doing well. Welcome to the program.
Okay. Thank you. How may I help you?
You called us.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who is that?
You called the WNOV.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was on the so I'm sorry. Thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome, and thank you for calling us.
On the radio.
Hit the X.
The X?
Yep, the X. Not that X, the other X.
Well, they're gone.
They're gone. Don't push it.
Our new technician.
I guess I do have glasses.
Yeah, our new board technician today, Julia.
Not me.
When I coach at 8th graders, and I tell them to, use your left hand. They're put your right hand.
Yeah.
I said, no, the other left.
Right.
The other left. Oh. But I think it's healthy to be able to have the conversation.
It is.
But I think we need to understand, though, I'm not Julia. Julia's not Keith. Brenda's not Julia, Brenda's not Keith, and how we get through it. So I think part of the people is the level of support.
Very important.
Yeah, I mean, and how you get people through. It's funny. Yesterday, my sister called my niece. She's out of town, and so she's calling, talking to my grandmother, and my grandmother, my mother, her grandmother, my mama, and
I was like, "Ooh, your grandma's still alive?"
No, Anna Mae, but Anna Mae lived to be 93.
That's awesome.
Got 2 callers. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So Parris is talking to my mom.
Yes.
And she said, "Hey, Grandma, how you doing?" And then Parris goes, "You scared?" And I yelled from the side, "Thanks, Parris."
Yeah, right. She wasn't. Now she
wasn't until you said, and it was just like, but you could say, and she would, we laugh, we're there laughing, but you don't always know what to say.
You don't.
So sometimes it's just no words.
Yeah.
Say nothing.
Be present.
Yeah. Or just talk about anything. Normal thing.
Just be present.
A TV show or something like that.
5 and 6.
Okay.
6
so
was
hit
first.
5. 6 was first.
6
hit
was
6.
first.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
The question is, I have a bad 4 and 5 disc in my back.
Oh.
With arthritis, full of it. And everybody said, "Well, go have the surgery." I said, "Yeah, I've seen somebody had a surgery, and he walking like he about to fall over every day." So it's a big picture to have somebody Google on your spinal.
Yeah, it really is. And as good as these orthopedic surgeons are and how precise they are, and I'm gonna say things don't go wrong, but it can be pretty difficult when you're dealing, as Brenda said, with the back,
Yeah. And a lot of times they don't use ortho surgeons, they use neurosurgeons
because of the nerve.
Because of the nerves and stuff. And you have to, and when you can't take it anymore, you don't have any option.
Right.
Because sometimes it gets to the point where you can't walk.
Paralysis.
Yeah, and stuff. So you have to have surgery.
But that's radical.
But yes, and so you may want to plan it. I mean, if it's heading that way, and then you must still do what it takes, the rehabilitation and all that afterwards. And a lot of times people have the surgery and won't do the rehab that's necessary.
And then they don't have a good outcome. I hear that all the time. Like even a friend recently had knee surgery, and he said, "Yeah, they ordered me therapy, but I don't think I need it." I said, "Yes, you do.
You do.
You need to go through it, because what happens is then you're going to have restrictions. You might not get back full range of motion. You have to follow through on those things."
Yeah, because I'm not going to take those idiot pills.
I did a pill though that calmed the nerves.
Oh yeah.
And that really helped. I mean, it changed. That was a game changer. And physical therapy.
Yes.
That was a game changer.
Yeah. And sometimes you need to relax those nerves to do physical therapy.
Right. All right, we're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Julie Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Attention business owners. Do you
different theology and religion,
Right.
and that helps you
through grief.
Your belief and your spirituality, your belief helps you get through grief, and that's why we, go through the whole ceremony and everything.
Because it's for us.
Right. It's for us.
It's
It's
for
not
us.
for
I
the
mean,
person that passed
so
away.
maybe I should be a little bit more understanding when it comes to it is us. But we need to be able to express it. My mom we went to a funeral of a younger person. And my mother said that, young people are learning how to process these emotions. As adults, we probably have gone through it and we learn from it, because the first time you go through it, it's not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you've gone through it, you understand it. Because I kept thinking about what you all talked about when it came to stress. And yesterday, it felt like my head was going to explode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, how do I bring this down?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just like,
sure, you can't even think straight.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it just felt like there was so much I got. And look, by no stretch of the imagination am I overburdened. I think, though, but when it kind of, you got some things on top of things, you're trying to figure out, how do I navigate this? But then I have to navigate that. They're still having impact on my feelings and my emotions and my thoughts, and where you take it to, and been able to get through it. So there's a lot of different emotions there. I think we need to try to work through it. But I appreciate what you were just saying about, I always said religion should make you a better person. And if it doesn't, then you might want to take a look at that religion, or are you even a practitioner of that? Because kittens born in the oven don't make them biscuits. Just because I'm sitting in church don't mean, or I'm sitting in temple, or I'm sitting in mosque, doesn't necessarily mean I'm getting, and not only getting and embracing, but then actualizing those things. When you get, you find yourself in a situation, it's like God, even Jesus, when he was dealing with death, asked the question, God, where are you? And here's the other thing. People say, you shouldn't be questioning God. Show me any place in the Bible where it says that you shouldn't question. I mean, because that's what I guess you're using as this. Of course you question God. You may or may not get the answer
that you wanted,
that you're wanting, but that doesn't mean that the question can't be raised. So this idea, you don't question God, or trying to, as we look at things like the will of God, and trying to, again, you have to have a religious framework to kind of get to that. If religion is not your thing, that's not what is Karina Jean-Pierre, who is the spokesperson for President Biden, when she used to be on MSNBC, was talking about somebody who did something really crazy. And she said, you know what? I send them to hell if I believe in it. So there are not a lot of people who necessarily subscribe to that.
Yes.
And so how do you,
there are certain preachers that do funerals well. They have people leaving out with hope, with encouragement, and relief, And then everybody can't do a funeral. And then you have the funeral of a saint or a long-term saint, which their lives really is so well that you don't have to say much
in terms of what we know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying. Yeah. Somebody go like, well, I knew him privately, and what y'all saw.
Right.
But here's something I don't do at funerals, and I've had people come up and say this. I never extend an invitation at a funeral. I'm gonna tell you why. Not that it's not a good thing, from my perspective, that you embrace Christ and that you become a believer. That's a great thing. But That is an emotional
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And you're making an emotional decision, which means that once the emotion passes,
right.
well, it has to be you said this earlier, Julie, Brenda, when it comes to this idea, it is really consciousness. It really is actualizing. But if my mama just died, I need
anything.
I need to get saved. When your mom was telling you get saved before she died, right? But now in this emotional moment, I'll never forget a friend of mine. He wrapped his car around a tree. We're in our 30s. Then he wrapped his car around a tree. And so, I mean, we got a lot of peers. And so we're at the funeral, and the pastor opened up the doors of the church, and 15 people came down. 15 people. And so I was asking my friend, I said, man, there's a lot of people joined. They came down. I said, how many of them came to church the following Sunday? She said none.
None.
It was an emotional moment.
Right.
And this is going to be controversial, and I'm sure some of my clergy brothers and sisters are going to get upset with me saying that. Sometimes you pimping people's emotions. It is the decision to follow a belief system should be one that is made consciousness, what is level of sobriety. Grief can be a drug. Love is a drug. And what I mean by drug, that same kind of effect. And so it's driving behavior. But what happens once the grief is gone?
And we always say that don't make important decisions when you're still emotional.
They say a year.
Yeah.
But going back to that, Keith, you still could plant the seed.
You plant the seed, just what you said. You were so perfect. I walk out of there with hope. I walk out of there I'm feeling better. And then maybe I'm more receptive. I had to do a funeral of someone who was a wino. My uncle. He was wino. And someone had suggested in the family that, you should say something, in effect, like getting them to join church because, they might never be in church again. They probably won't. And they probably going to go get drunk if they hadn't already in the parking lot.
Already, right.
It's not. So I know this is for me. I went, oh man, look at all these people who came down and gave their lives to Christ. I would say the same thing. Like if you looked at a Billy Graham crusade, and hundreds of people come down, but then the question happens: what happens after that? And it's great theater. It looks great, and we're moved by it. And, amen, amen, amen. And I'm thinking, no. And then even the people sitting here who never got up, who are members of churches, that I think the challenge for me is, am I living my life better? That becomes the challenge. Not so much I want to see somebody else get saved. I need to get saved.
Right.
And I'm just using saved as, I know it has its connotations where, I used to say to people, you so stuck on saved, you're not living. That's the first step.
Yep.
Realization of behavior, or realization, the word repentance means to change. That's the first step. In your health, it's a realization that I need to change some behavior. But as Brenda said, that can be hard. But it should be hard because it's worthwhile. Plus, here's the other thing. You're trying to correct 30 years of behavior.
Yes.
That's not going to happen in a week.
No.
It's just, there are material reasons why that won't happen in a week. I admire the people who were able to quit smoking cold turkey. Not advised, but I admire you for being able to do that you had that moment. Or you had people said, I quit drinking. I admire you. Probably hadn't gotten to the point where you're now chemically dependent on it. You were probably more psychologically and socially dependent on it. Your body hadn't got to the point that when you don't have it, you're craving it.
Right.
So, I got that. But for people who are really dealing with addiction, we have to figure out how do we get them through that addiction. And we talked about in the past that it is, I've never looked at liquor the same way since we found out it was poison.
I'm sorry. But you do need to know. You do need to know that though, right?
Right.
We need to know what we're putting in our bodies. That doesn't mean we can't do it, but we need to have an idea. That fried chicken and lard is poison too.
But it's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Doesn't mean you're never going to eat it, right?
Oh my God, it's so good. I mean, now when you got things like where you hear people talking about air fryers.
I know you're not a big fan of the air fryer.
You know what I really want is to make sure that the texture of the meat is consistent. And I don't know what it does, because there's a different process of heat than when
you haven't had
fry it.
Air fried chicken wings.
Oh, you have had air fried chicken wings. We've done air fried pork chops.
Mm-hmm.
I just want that consistency in terms of what I think, and maybe it's more psychological than it is in terms of, you know, how something should taste. Let's see. All lines open?
Yeah.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Shalom, family.
Hey, what's up? You got through. All right.
Man, that was the most frustrating 3.5, 3 3/4 hours.
He's been trying since this morning.
Has it?
Yeah.
Okay. What's happening, man?
Something wrong with this. You know, technology is not always the best route. But just taking a deep breath, remembering our brother, hearing all the tribute and the well wishes and the condolences. I wanted to express my condolences to his family, mom and sister, and all of his children across the country. You know, I met Keon over at Sherman Park after Corey passed. And he was working there with Vaughn and the group, and we got to talking, and, you know, grateful that I had an opportunity to get to know him over the past 12 years. And he poured into me just like many have, and helped me, been a help getting through. And so, as many have expressed, I'm going to miss him. And it was hard to hear about that. But I appreciate the beginning of a tribute today. I appreciate the show with the sisters right here talking about, you know, this process. And, you know, we're all going to have some of that. And just keeping in mind the things that he poured into me, and the interactions that we've had, and the songs that, who is it? For the good time. Who is that? I can't even think of his name right now. Keon is just on the front of my head, but for the good times. So I will see you all soon.
All right.
Let's hold up the banner, y'all.
Yes.
That brother was doing some work. Let's hold up the banner.
Yes. We love his community.
Yeah.
And as was stated on Michelle's program, if you haven't voted and you weren't going to vote, you can honor his legacy by getting your butt up and go and vote.
Go vote. And get ready.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of voting to do.
We're fired up and we're ready to go.
Ready to go.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're up on the last break of the program.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Debo.
All right. Okay. We got a few more minutes, right? Okay. All right. Yeah. You know what? First of all, thank you, nurses.
You're welcome.
For healing. Because this helped me.
You know,
that's what Julia said to me this morning, is we probably need to be there.
Yeah. This helped me. I'm hoping it helped people listening to be able to have the conversation.
That's why I didn't want to be up here crying.
Right. It was all heavy. Oh,
yeah,
oh
crying.
man, it wasn't. You got people coming in here with sunglasses on because they've been crying and crying. And I think that, first of all, I ain't worried about what his afterlife will be. He has earned his rest. He has earned his peace. He's left his peace in terms of legacy, so then, you don't have to, it's really us right now that have to get through it. But I think if we come together as a community, T-Ray had stopped through, who's my other guy stopped through it, him and Michelle hugged, and that we're going to get through it. And that would be his expectation, that we come together and that we get through it, so.
That's right. And nothing less.
Yep. We did have a good time at Elsa's though, man. We had a good time. So George, we will continue it. We will add to the group. Delay is not denial. Let's, we can pull that together. I did receive a text from someone talking about, relationships between males and how me and Keon will be sitting up talking about how much we love each other. But I'm going to deny it if anybody ever asks me. Because it was.
Let me say this. I would hope that we can all get a measure of the heart that he had to do the right thing.
Right. Right.
Once he learned of the damage he did, the brother had a heart to go back and do something to change it, to affect it. And so that's a change. And as you were talking about the Most High, that's what the Most High does, is he changes our heart.
Yep.
And he changed Keon's heart.
Yep.
And we can all count that as, that when, I hear this word hero thrown about. And it's applied to so many areas where you really ask yourself, is that a hero? But no, this brother had some of that hero spirit in him.
Yes, he did.
And I'll be out with that family.
All right.
I love that brother, man. And I know we all did, but I love that brother. So shalom.
And let me say this. If perfection was a prerequisite for service, nobody would serve. Let me thank Miss Margaret Rucker. Let me thank Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan. Debo, thank you. Harvey, thank you. Michelle, thank you. Callers, thank you. All right. So the good Lord willing, creek don't rise. We're going to play. I still got some time. Oh, we back. That's right. Join us at 3 o'clock for Election Central here as we go through Election Day. It is Election Day in the city. You still can vote. Get up and go vote. Beautiful day. Weather ain't an issue. So you'll be able to go. Let me do this song. I'm going to get out of here as he put. All right. All right, then I won't be here when you play. All right. No, just let you know. Yeah, we're playing this song because Keon and I always talk about stealing each other's music. I brought this song in. I said, Keon, we should be able to do this in the show. And he said, he fell in love with the song. So I'm going to use it on my show. And he used it once. He said, man, that's your song. So Maceo Woods, it's been a mighty good day. Oh, good Lord willing, creek don't rise. I'm talking to everybody tomorrow. As always, go for this place. Oh, I'll see you this afternoon at 3.
Yep.
We'll be right. We're gone. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Keith Parris, the host of Community Voice, asking you to join me on Wednesday, August 14th at 9 a.m.